Hey, Coach Vines.
Hey.
Hey. All right. First of all, thanks for your time. Um,
Absolutely.
Definitely, I appreciate that. And I'm pursuing a major in physical education. So I just wanted to talk to a physical educator and ask some questions.
Sure.
So first of all, why did you choose the profession you're in?
PE specifically because I like to see kids be active and transfer what we do in PE into their high school sports. It's a
Definitely.
very fundamental, knowledge that
Yes.
they need.
Yes, ma'am. And how long have you been working in that field?
This is my 5th year here at Riverview. I've been coaching for 20,
Okay.
but most of that was, volunteer travel stuff.
Right. I remember you telling me that. And just for anyone who's pursuing this profession, what advice would you give to them?
Expect the unexpected and be patient. When I first came in, my trouble is doing the difference between being a coach and being a PE teacher, because you do K through 6. Those kids have a lot going on at home. You have to lower your expectations,
Right.
of what their motor mobility and that kind of stuff is, because you're used to being with high school athletes. You tell them to throw, they throw.
Yeah.
Well, in elementary, you have to teach them how to throw. And so you have to be very patient, and you don't know what kind of day they're having. And, some of them, they really struggle with their motor skills. And so you just have to break it down.
Yes, ma'am.
And start from the beginning.
Right. And so what grades are you doing? Are you doing all of elementary now, or?
My PE class is K through 6.
Okay.
So I have everyone in our elementary, yes.
Awesome. And so how many times per week do classes meet?
They only come once a week. The state lowered the standard to where they only have to have 40 minutes a week. It was 60.
40 a week. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And so what do you guys have a curriculum? Do you have a curriculum guide that you go by?
Well, I have some. I use standards and just kind of set my own pacing schedule.
Yeah.
And then we have testing that comes out of that. A lot of people use Spark. And there are different ones available.
Yeah, Spark
I
is
haven't
really
purchased one, but I do take pieces of some and put them together.
Yeah. So they don't have like a committee for our physical education program. You just come up with your own, right?
Right. Now I do cooperate with the PE teacher at Judd.
Awesome. Yeah.
Miss Benton. Yeah, we do a curriculum guide together, which is standard based, and we're going to do this week and then the next week. And now we can vary from that.
Yeah.
But it's just a basic guide.
Definitely. And so do you just evaluate your students based off of that? Do you have
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Well, we do a monthly exercise test, so they do self-evaluations also.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, they work with a peer, and they have 5 components. We actually are doing that this week. They have 1 minute to do as many of each one of them as they can. And then their goal is to work on the FIT principle and learn about progression. Okay, last month I did 12 push-ups. This month I want to try to do 13 or 14.
Right.
And then they understand, that they build from that. And they're also evaluating themselves and each other.
Okay, definitely. Because I remember when I was coming through elementary there, we definitely didn't have that. So that's really good.
Absolutely.
And so do you have inclusion for disabled students?
We do adaptations, but I don't really have anyone that can't do anything that we do sometimes, and we don't point that out. So if a student's having trouble with a certain motor skill, then we all go back and make the adaptation. We don't just point that person out.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and you don't want them to feel like like they're different.
Yes, ma'am. Also, how well does the administration work with the physical education program? Is that something you have to push to them, and do you have a budget for the program?
I do. I have, when I first came here, I was the first PE teacher that they had actually had, so I started the program from the beginning, and they gave me a budget. I think it was $3,000.
Sweet.
to buy all my initial equipment, and then every year after that, I have a $500 budget.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what you may not know this, and I was also going to talk to the high school PE teachers as well and see if, but do you guys collaborate at all or pass on like the skill or try to set up a plan for the skills that they're developing in elementary to pass over to the high school physical education?
We don't, but we do sometimes like share equipment. Like I'll take them, kickballs or stuff that either we've used and we're getting new, and they have budgets too, but it's just always nice to share.
Right.
But we don't actually talk about lesson plans or any of that.
Right.
No.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up, and I really do appreciate it. Have you been doing all right?
I've been great. How about yourself?
Good.
How's school?
I'm doing well. I'm just trying to make it through. That final stretch. I'm looking to do my internship next spring, so it's coming up on me.
Where are you going to try to go?
They're actually going to place me. They haven't actually placed me yet, but we don't get to really choose. It'll probably be somewhere in Jonesboro area, though.
Gotcha. Are you at ASU?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome.
Sure am. Yep.
Yeah, we got to pick our top 3, and then they would generally choose from those 3.
We don't even get to do that anymore. They just
really?
Yeah, we do our 2 observations prior to that, which is we just go and observe, and then we do our internship, and they try to send us to like a different type of school every time. Like they send us to a bigger school, they send us to a smaller one, just different economics and things. But so that's kind of how they do it. And
awesome.
It's really random.
Well, listen, if I can help you at all, don't hesitate. Just keep my number. If you ever need help with lesson plans or
definitely
student teaching or any of that, just let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good deal. It's good to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man. Appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Oh, no, it's no big deal. I forgot to, we had some stuff going on. I forgot to call you. We were getting ready for that track meet. So.
That's no big deal. Yeah, and Coach Coleman told me y'all was at the track meet too. Yeah. How's that been? Is it district?
No, we're hosting one. We started hosting one at Riverview. So it's freaking stupid. We actually got done pretty early, so.
Oh, that's cool. Do we even have anyone running in it besides?
Don Ray.
Yeah.
And JT and all of them will run a district, but they weren't there tonight.
All right. Well, I was going to ask some questions. I'm majoring in physical education, and I'm doing some interviews for that, and I was going to ask some questions about just the program. First, why did you choose this profession?
I chose obviously because I like sports in high school.
Right.
That gave me a chance to, be around sports, after school. So
right.
That's really why I chose it.
Yeah. And how long have you been working in the field?
This is my 10th year.
10. Man.
A long time.
Yeah, it has. Seems longer than that. I said it seems like it's been longer than that. Just for me,
it does.
Ever since I can remember. What advice would you give to someone pursuing this profession?
Have multiple lessons planned. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's easy to just do volleyball and softball and stuff like that, but aside from sports, have you some games, like just physical activity games.
Yeah.
Like ultimate frisbee and, just things like that. Have those lessons planned, because the sports, to the non-athlete, to your normal kid, that stuff, they don't like that stuff anyway. So you got to do other things to get them involved. If that makes sense.
Definitely. Sorry. And personally, I wanted to ask you, because I remember whenever you was having, I was in high school and you were having your kids, and I know you had a family. So how did you how do you manage to balance your work and then your family and your responsibilities?
That's the tough part.
Right.
Like my wife says, during basketball season, she feels like a single parent.
Yeah.
And so, if they're not coming to the game, and that's the thing that I encourage is for your wife and your kids to come to the games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially home games, and be there, and that way you can interact with them. Even though you're working, you can interact with them. And
yeah, I definitely think about that a lot.
And so it's like, but the good thing for me is I coach basketball, and then I get to coach track. Well, track is only like once a week.
Right.
But what sucks is like if you coach football into basketball season or basketball into baseball season, you'll normally at most smaller schools are going to make you coach two sports.
Yeah.
And so that's where it kills you, is that second season. That's what sucks.
Man, I hear that.
So, basketball season's fine. Then when you gotta go to your second sport,
yeah,
I hate track just because I want to go home.
Yep, I already know. And so, as far as coaching, how do you deal with parents and players not getting the playing time or trying to coach from the stands? And
well, you remember our player contract that we used to make you sign?
Right.
So you do that, list your rules, have a parent meeting, tell them up front what you'll tolerate, what you'll not tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times,
hey, Coach, you're breaking up a little bit.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I don't know where I cut out.
You were just talking about you just got done talking about the player contract, and then just telling the parents what you expect from them at the beginning of the season.
And people are always going to coach from the stands. They've done it since the beginning of sports. They're going to continue to do it. It's probably going to get worse. You just have to. You're not going to please everyone. Everybody thinks they can coach. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everybody in the stands thinks they can do a better job or thinks they can do your job. And you just got to be confident in what you do.
Yeah.
And you just don't let that distract you from what you're doing. Like if you're working hard and you know the game and you're doing a good job, you can't let that stuff bother you.
Right.
And then with us, we have somebody come in, for example, and they say, what you hear a lot is people want to, okay, Kirkland gets to play.
Yeah.
And then, so Landon doesn't get to play, but my son's just as good as Kirkland, or my son's, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You always have those people who don't really know.
Yeah.
That think they're, well, my kid tries just as hard as this kid. Yeah, they probably do, but they're not as good,
Yeah.
And so you just have to, it's just one of those things where when they start talking about somebody else, so if my son is Landon and I come in and start talking about Kirkland, that's when you have to shut the conversation down. You say, look,
yeah,
I'm not talking about another person's kid. We're not going to do that. We're going to talk about your kid, and I'll tell you what they can do to get better, or what they need to work on, or what so on and so forth. Yeah. But you don't ever talk about other kids to other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So, yeah.
So that's one thing I learned from Coach LaFoon.
Mm-hmm.
He taught me. He's like, don't ever start talking about other people's kids, because what people do, especially now